Hey everyone, we're here looking at the sky during the day, and we've talked about the winter constellations that we can see at this time of the year, but those were primarily in the southern sky. What would you see if you turned around and looked towards the northern sky? Well, to do that we have to first get to night and figure out which way is north. So remember that everything sets in the west. As the earth rotates and we spin away from the sun, we see things go down in the west and they rise in the east. So if I'm staring at a sunset, I know I'm staring west. In order to find north, all I need to do is look over my right shoulder. So if I look over my right shoulder, that will turn me towards north. So now that I'm facing north, the second most recognizable constellation that people have noticed in the northern hemisphere is the Big Dipper, and it's right over in this direction. You can see that there are 3 stars here that make up the handle. There are 4 that make the scoop or the ladle, and those 7 make the Large Dipper, or Ursa Major as we call it. Now Ursa Major is also known as the Great Bear, so this would be the tail of the bear and this would be the body here. There's a lot more to Ursa Major than what I'm showing you right here, but those 7 are the brightest stars that you can see. One star that's really interesting is the one here in the handle of the Big Dipper, and that is Mizar. Mizar, and you can even see it right here in the planetarium, that it is a double star system. It's a binary star system. Most stars we see out there are binaries, which means there's 2 of them that orbit each other. And this binary is just special because you can actually see it without even looking through a telescope. You can see that with your unaided eye. There are 2 stars there that orbit each other, and Mizar is the star, the brightest one of those 2 stars. The other star I'd like you to know is the one at the end of the Dipper here, known as Dubhe. And Dubhe is one of the 2 stars that at the end of the ladle, and I call those my pointer stars. Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, is kind of my roadmap and my guidepost for the northern sky. It shows me all the stars that I'm going to need to know in this section of the sky. So to find the star that everybody wants to know, to find true north, we need to find the North Star. We need to find Polaris. And to find Polaris, we need to take the pointer stars, so Dubhe and this other star at the end of the Big Dipper here, and take this distance in a straight line out of the ladle. So here's the ladle and the scoop right here. This distance 5 times will take you straight to our pole star. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have now found my pole star, Polaris. And Polaris is in the tail end of the Little Dipper, or Ursa Minor. So if I trace out Ursa Minor here for you, you can see I've got the star Polaris right there. I've got 3 stars in the curve of the handle here, and then I've got 4 stars down here in the ladle, the scoop part of the Little Dipper. The Little Dipper is also known as Ursa Minor and is known as the Little Bear. So again, you can see a tail and then the body of Ursa Minor right there. However, I see Ursa Minor more as a lawnmower. I see this as the handle of the lawnmower, and I see this as the lawnmower itself. So we've got Polaris, our pole star, that you can find with the pointer stars, taking a straight line through Dubhe right to Polaris. So in Ursa Minor, make sure you know Polaris and the shape. Now another constellation that's up here in the northern sky, we can trace this constellation by using the pointer stars in the Big Dipper again, taking that same straight line I took through Polaris, but if I go a little bit further and I take a straight line from Dubhe through Polaris, I'll run into this W shape up here. This W shape here is Cassiopeia the Queen. I'll click on a star here. There's no bright star I want you to know in Cassiopeia, just know the shape. This W makes Cassiopeia. So you can see this as her crown, or you could see it as a seat. So here's the seat, and she's sitting in her seat right here. So there's a lot of ways you can interpret the way people saw Cassiopeia. Well, if Cassiopeia is the queen, then there must be a king. And to find the king, you want to go halfway between Polaris and Cassiopeia, and halfway between that straight line, you'll find Cephas. Cephas is the king, and Cephas makes this triangular shape with this square on the bottom. So it kind of looks like a house. So Cephas, the king, is sitting right next to his queen, Cassiopeia. So you've got this house shape to know for Cephas, and you know this W shape, this crown shape for Cassiopeia. No bright stars you need to know in these two shapes, just know where they are and their locations. Remember, we've got their boundaries too, remembering that anything that falls in this red shape here belongs to Cephas. Anything that falls in this location here belongs to Cassiopeia. You can see what belongs to Ursa Minor and also what belongs to Ursa Major. So those are 4 of the 5 constellations I'd like you to know. Well, if we have a king and queen up here, we need something to protect them. And the mythical creature that would protect a king and queen is a dragon. And to find the dragon, we've got to go back to Ursa Major, down here, the Big Dipper, and Ursa Minor, up here, the Little Dipper. And if, again, I take those 2 stars, the pointer stars in Ursa Major, and I take a straight line towards Polaris, halfway in between them, you're going to see this snaking shape. So you're going to see stars snaking in a little line around the 2 dippers. And one of the bright stars is right here, known as Thuban. Thuban is the bright star in Draco the Dragon. Let me trace Draco for you all together. So Draco snakes down around this way. Thuban is like the 3rd star in the tail. Then it comes up and around, and then down to this head. Here's the head of Draco the Dragon. Draco is a long, winding constellation that goes through the northern sky here, and is the mythical creature that protects Cassiopeia and Cephas. And that's it. I told you the winter sky was probably our biggest sky. Well, now we have only 5 constellations: Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Draco, Cephas, and Cassiopeia. Those are the 5 constellations I would like you to know. Make sure you know the star Thuban, Polaris, which is our North Star, not the brightest star in our sky, Mizar, and Dubhe. The one thing that is special about Polaris, that if I let the stars roll and I let the night sky move, every constellation you ever see will rise and set. We see them come up in the east and set in the west, except for Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Cephas, Cassiopeia, and Draco, especially from our latitude. What we do see is that they circle that pole star. They circle Polaris. And since they all circle Polaris, we call these 5 constellations our circumpolar constellations. They circle this pole star, night in and night out. If you think of the Earth as a giant top, we are spinning and we are pivoting right on Polaris. And that's true for right now. In a couple thousand years, Polaris will actually no longer be our North Star. But that's a story for another time.